Hey, welcome back again, everybody. I appreciate your patience. For some reason, I guess I got zucked. I don't know what happened. I had to reboot everything, but I am back. The equipment's back up, and we're ready to rock and roll. And I want to spend some time today talking about one of the most important things we have to do this year in particular, but always, and that's running a libertarian campaign. So for those of you who care about that, who you've either been in one, are running one, will run one, any of those things, do me a favor, like, comment, share. This stuff matters. Let everyone know that it's happening. I'm going to talk about some details, take some comments as always, and try to answer your questions. This will go as long as we need to go, maybe 20 minutes, maybe an hour, but whatever will work to make sure we get some good questions asked, to make sure that we are making sure that we get this to work as best as we can for our candidates. All right. Obviously, you know that I'm running around New York State working for ballot access. Is what I'm doing, right? We need to get 130,000 votes in New York State. We can do that. If you want to help me do that, I am doing 66 stops total in about 5 weeks, 6 weeks. I average 11 stops a week. I did 5 days last week, 15 stops. I'll show you some press we got from those stops. Help me out. Head over to larrysharpe.com/donate. Throw me 10, 25, 50 bucks, whatever you got, whatever you could do to help us make this happen. It's a short thing, about 2 months to get it knocked out so we can help people. All right, let me cover a couple of these things. Why does this stuff matter? Because the way that we are able to move this country forward is to get good candidates in the right places at the right time, hopefully elected, obviously, but if we can't get them elected, make them have impact. This is a critical piece. Get them to be seen and talking about things that make sense. And I want to show you one that went very well. I showed this last night for those of you who might have seen it. If you happen to be watching my show, my Sharpe Way show last night, I actually brought it up then. So let me see if I can get this going if I can for you guys. So you can actually see what this looks like. This is a very interesting piece. It's good press that we actually got from a libertarian candidate.
Campaign to unseat Fred Akshar in the New York State Senate is getting help from a former gubernatorial candidate. Larry Sharpe, who ran for governor of New York in 2018, is currently traveling across the state promoting candidates from the Libertarian Party. Sharpe made a stop outside the Afton Inn today to promote Thomas Daniel Queter, who is running against Akshar for Senate District 52, which includes Binghamton. This is the third year in a row that the former Marine, that is Sharpe, has toured the state with the goal of making 66 stops in 11 weeks leading up to the election. It's actually 6 weeks.
That's fine.
Sharpe says if you feel ignored by your party, then you should vote Libertarian.
If you're good with status quo, stick with status quo. I would argue, and I believe in my heart, the vast majority of New Yorkers are not happy with status quo. This is a beautiful state. It's amazing, this state, what it brings out in people. The problem is, while we love our state, we hate our government. If you fix our government, this state will blossom again.
Sharpe calls New York the battleground state, saying what happens in New York will create a ripple effect that will go through the rest of the country. Queter says having Sharpe's support shows how dedicated to the people the Libertarian Party is.
Yes.
He's not in a race right now, and he's still going to every county. Why? Because he cares. That's libertarians. We do this because we care.
Yes.
We don't have money. We don't want riches and power and all
we
of
do
that.
Want riches.
What we're actually seeking is to improve our communities.
Yes.
I mean, we are people who are doing this because we care about our communities.
Queter's campaign says it wants to give people with disabilities the service that they should already have, while also strengthening the local economy. Election is November 3rd.
Now, the advantage to seeing that, now many of you probably, like what you heard. That's great. But what you saw is you saw people supporting each other. We have people do that, and you heard him talking about issues. He talked, for those of you who saw it, he actually talked about issues, farmer issues. He talked about actual how to solve problems with people with disabilities. He brought that up in a libertarian manner. Why do I bring this up? Because while this is great, I'm happy we had it. I hope you see this, that we can make impact. There's a team that we have to build if you're running for office. And there are 4 people you got to start thinking about. Each of us falls into these categories. Some of you heard me speak about this before, but it's good to hear it again for those of you who have. Better for those of you, obviously, who haven't. 4 different types of people. The problem is our team, our group, our movement is so small, we all often overlap. Number 1, activists. Activists are critical for our party. Activists are people who tend to focus on 1 or 2 issues, but sometimes many, and they push the issue hard. Their goal should be, sometimes isn't, but should be to get people to realize this thing matters, whatever this thing is. The Fed or the war on drugs or whatever their issue, psychedelics or whatever is their issue, they push their issue and they say, hey, care about this issue, local people, care about this. Great, need them, critical. Different, though, from a candidate. Once you're a candidate, you're no longer an activist when you're a candidate, and that will drive people crazy, but it's true. As a candidate, you're not an activist anymore. Your goal isn't to push an issue or push another issue or push an idea. That's not your goal anymore. Your goal as a candidate, once you shift your activist helmet off and put your candidate helmet on, now your goal is to find libertarian answers for what your local people care about. I got to be clear on this. You have to find libertarian answers for the issues your local people care about. But Larry, what if they don't care about the most important issues? Then you need more activists in that area, or your activists need to change their tactics or something, right? That's the issue. But that's not the candidate's job at that point. The candidate's job is to look at what people care about that in the area that they're trying to represent and to push those issues. In the case of Tom Queter, he pushed disabilities and farming. That's his community. That's what he should push. So if someone jumps up and goes, what about ending the Fed? He should go, that's a good issue, whatever, touch it and move away. That's not what matters in his campaign on his race. Now, an activist could jump on the Fed all day long, no matter what. You'd be talking about milk and they'll jump on the Fed. All good, you're an activist. Good on you. When you're a candidate, that has to change. Don't take the bait. Don't all of a sudden jump on and get on some issue that doesn't matter for your people you're trying to service at that point. You're a candidate. Your job is to show up and communicate with ideas that will get people caring about you. It's the idea that sticks, by the way. It's the idea that sticks. I said, Larry, it isn't the idea that sticks. That's not true. It's, it's libertarianism or it's this thing. No, it's not. It's the idea that sticks. And I tell you that because if you look, I have a piece I want to show you. This is a piece of press from California. It's a piece of press from California that shows a guy running for mayor. This guy's running for mayor. And what is he talking about? He's talking about how he can raise money and how he raises money through sponsorship of infrastructure. And he literally mentions my name here. If you go down here, he actually says, if you go down a little bit here, Estrada said that the idea for corporate sponsorship is something that has been thrown around by libertarians. Larry Sharpe, who ran for governor of New York, had ideas like this. This is from just last month. This stuff's working, guys. Candidates have to have ideas. That's the critical piece. Policy. Activists push the issue. Candidates have the solutions for the problems people care about. Next, volunteers. Volunteers are often not activists. There's a difference. Activists and their passion and their power is both good and bad. I love our activists. They're so critical. We can't survive without them. But they bust their rumps, and that's a great thing. At the same time, if you're an activist, and you know this, if you're an activist, it can very often absorb you. It can take over a big part of your life. But volunteers aren't there. People in our movement often shift between activist and volunteer. A volunteer is someone who says, love it, want to help, but I can only do this or give you this, and that's kind of all I can do. I'll give you 2 hours, Tim O'Connor. I'll give you 2 hours. That's all you're going to get is 2 hours. Okay, great. You now, as an activist and or candidate, have to tell that volunteer exactly what to do in 2 hours. If you don't, that volunteer will go home. That volunteer won't do anything. That's not what volunteers do. That's important to understand the difference. But if you're in an activist or candidate mindset, you think differently. So realize that there's a difference between a volunteer and activist and a candidate and a volunteer. Most of the time, when activists have some type of issue in their life-changing issue, they decide that they get married, they have a child, they have a death in the family, lose their job. All of a sudden, their lifestyle can't support the activism that they want to have. They will often change to become a volunteer until their world shifts and they can go back to being an activist. Get that. If you have volunteers, cherish them. They're critically important, but give them specific guidelines or ideas or concepts. Don't expect them to be activists. They're not. They're not. Last piece is donors. Donors, and when I say donors, I mean donors that don't do anything except give money, and they tend to give a lot of it. That's the class I mean. Generally speaking, activists give money, so do volunteers, and so do candidates. They often give money, common thing. I'm talking about the larger donor who tends to only give money, right? That person who just says, here's a check, I love you guys, I got stuff to do, I'm not going to be involved. That person's important too. But remember, 3 things. As a candidate and activist, as an activist, if that donor decides right now, I'm going to give you $500, $1,000, whatever the case may be, whatever that thing is, if the donor says that and you're an activist and they don't believe the way you believe, let it go. Some of you activists want the donor to be a true believer in whatever you believe in. Don't worry about it. Take his or her money and go do good with it. They don't have to be a true believer. They can only care about one thing or have one issue or whatever. Let it go. If you're a candidate, don't beg for money from donors. It's not a good idea. Provide value and then ask for money. I'm doing it now. I'm trying to provide value and then I'm asking you for money. That is the way you should try to do it as a candidate. Treat donors with respect, but don't treat them like they're doing you a favor. They're not doing you a favor. They want something just like you do. You're going to go out there and bust your rump as a candidate and or activist. You need money to do that. They don't want to do that. Good for them. Not everyone can be an activist or a candidate, but they happen to have a bunch of money. Awesome. They give you money. That's what I mean. So don't be upset if the candidate, if the donor doesn't want to do what you want him or her to do. Take the money and go do good. Keep in mind there are 4 separate types of people to worry about. If you get that in your head as you're running your team, you'll be better off. Last, remember the most important thing that I learned many lessons and I had many failures in my campaign. This is not to be run like a business. It's not a business. This is a passion project. Don't forget that. A campaign is not a business. If you run it like a business, you will watch your team fall apart and run away. We all make that error. Many of us do. I should say, many of us do. I did too. Instead, remember, this is a passion project, not a business. You don't want to treat these people like they're employees. They're not. What they are people who are passionate about either you or your idea or your campaign or the movement or any combination of those things. You are the center of that passion if you're the candidate. You are a promoter of that passion if you're an activist in a campaign. So please keep that in mind. That's who you are. This is not a business. This is a passion project. All right. I hope I covered the 4 types of people you're looking at and how to treat each of them and how to beat them. Remember, we're a small party. We rotate between these many times, and we're sometimes 2 or 3 of them at the same time. I get it. We're sometimes 2 or 3 of them. I'm asking you to not project who you are onto others in your team. See who they are and treat them appropriately. Next, your team. If you're going to run for office and you say, I don't need a team, I don't need to raise money, please don't run for office. You're just wasting time, money, and energy. Please stop. And I know this is against what everyone says. We need lots of candidates. We do not need lots of candidates. We need good candidates with big teams. We do not require 80,000 candidates. I know a lot of you think I'm crazy when I say that, but I'm telling you it's the truth. I would rather have a choice of 2,000 candidates, and most of them have no team, or 200 candidates. Each one has 10 people on a team. I'm in. Let's do 200. Let's do less candidates with bigger teams. That's what builds infrastructure. That's what allows people to stay. When someone runs by themselves and they don't get support, and they won't, and when they don't get support, they then get angry and they leave. We've lost any institutional knowledge. We haven't built a team up. Doesn't work. Build a team. If you can't build a team, please don't run. You are just wasting time. Help somebody else instead. If you are not in a position to be able to build a team, then please join someone else's team. If you're strapped for time, then don't be an activist in that team. Just be a volunteer and give what you can give. You will be serving the movement better by not running. But Larry, we need a name on the ballot. That is old school thinking that has failed us for 40 years. Please stop that. We don't need a name on the ballot. We need good candidates. We need good teams. That's what we need to build this party for the future. Name on a ballot is a colossal waste of time, with some exceptions. Now, be clear, sometimes locally, it matters for ballot access or issues like that. I get that. What I'm saying is a general rule, your local area, there may be some exceptions here or there. Obviously, I don't know every state and every county, but general rule, that is not a good idea. Just putting someone on a ballot. Well, it's branding. Branding of what? They don't know what a libertarian is. They have no idea. They don't know who you are. And they're not voting for libertarian. Those people are already libertarians. They're voting for either a person or an idea or to rebel. So give them one of those three. That's what matters. So build a team. You have to have several people covered at a minimum for your team, no matter how big or how small your race is. Number one, you've got to have a treasurer, right? It can be you. I'd rather it not be you. If you're a candidate, get a treasurer. As a general rule, two good people to pick. One, your local accountant. An accountant's often a good treasurer. They understand these things. They read these things. Even if they've had no experience, if you trust your accountant, hopefully he'll do it for free because he loves you. Or she loves you. I hope so. Try an accountant. If you can't get an accountant, try a local retail banker, meaning someone who you go into your branch and someone's there. They service you in some way, shape, or form. Loan officer. He or she is often going to be good with finances and financial stuff. They know the language. If they're happy to do it for you, those are good people to pick. Literally, when you got your mortgage, ask the guy or gal who gave you their mortgage and see if they'll be your treasurer. Those tend to be good people to choose to be treasurers. All right, so that's your treasurer. You don't want it to be you if you don't have to be you, but you have to have a treasurer and bank account. But Larry, I don't want to raise money. I don't need to. Stop running. You need a treasurer. Go raise money. Larry, I don't like raising money. Okay, I will help you. Others will help you. People can help you raise money. Don't quit because you don't like raising money. Next, you need someone to be either your communications person, press or or special events person. Someone who will help control your calendar and or deal with press inquiries. That can be your campaign manager. That's okay if it is. Or that you can have a manager and they have someone who does it, or the manager can also do it. But it should not be you. Very often you see me, I'm not even running. And you see me, people say, where are you going to be next week? And I say, I don't know. I have to have a team to do that. It's too much. If you're running a real campaign, you can't be dealing with all these issues. You simply can't do it. It is impossible. Next, you need someone to handle your social media. That should not be your manager. And it should not be you. That should be a separate person. That should not be your manager and not be you. Larry, I don't have anybody. I'm not good at social media. Great. Is there a college nearby you somewhere? Good. Go ask them. Ask the local political club people if any of them want to have social media manager for your campaign on their resume. Ask them to do it. You'll be surprised how often. I got great young talent. I must have 4 or 5 people who are running my so it might be more who are running my social media when I was running. Tons of people who were answering for me, responding, putting out posts, putting out videos. Tons of them. The vast majority were volunteers. So you can find them, and most of them were young. You can do it. It takes time. But Larry, I don't have time to do this. Then why are you running? Get your manager to do it. Well, she doesn't have time to do it. Why is she your manager? If your excuse is I don't have time or I can't, ask yourself, why are you running? You're not doing anybody a favor by running. You're not. If you can't be a decent candidate and build infrastructure and help this movement grow itself by learning from mistakes and getting better and building our talent base, then you're not helping. I want to be clear. You're not helping. You don't have to. I'm not telling you can't run. Run. And if you run, I'll probably support you. If I don't want you to run, I'll probably still support you because I want you to do well. But you shouldn't. I'm just going to should you. You do whatever you want. You shouldn't run. Next, you want someone to, I'm sorry, your social media person. Your social media person has to make sure several things are happening. Number one, that something is going on your social media every single day. It doesn't have to be original content. It can be, and that's always the best, but it can be anything. It can be a meme, can be an article, can be a picture, can be a video, but your social media should have something different on it at least one time every single day. That's what your social media manager has to ensure, at least one thing every single day. Larry, should I check it? Should I make sure it's good? General rule, when you begin your campaign, I hope it's a several-month campaign, in the first month or two, you should be okaying everything. After the month or two, let it go. But Larry, they'll put something dumb on. Yes, they will, and so what? Yes, they will, and so what? But libertarians will get mad. Why do you care what they think? They're going to vote for you anyway. It's fine. Don't worry about it. Let them go. Let it go. If it's bad, you'll fix it, repair it. Here's what I know. If you're not important, it's irrelevant. If you're important, they'll attack you. Awesome. You can defend yourself. And the best part about that is, if you're important enough for them to attack you, besides the libertarians who will always attack you because that's who we are, besides them, if anyone non-libertarian will actually attack you, awesome. Great. If you start getting impressive and important, they're going to absolutely lie about you. They're just going to make stuff up about you. And I'm not joking about this, guys. Once you become an actual threat to the establishment, they are literally just going to make things up about you. They're not going to be true at all, based maybe very loosely on something semi-true from years ago, maybe, if that, and he's going to post it. And they're going to share it, and they're going to do it. Happened to me, of course, absolutely. Accept that. You're going to have to fight that. So why do you care if your social media, puts a bad meme up? It's nothing compared to what the establishment will do with you if you become an actual player. Deal with the problems your social media puts up. Handle that. Because when the big stuff happens, you'll wish it was the little stuff. So don't even worry about it at all. Here's a general rule on gambling on social media. If you're sure it's bad, don't do it. If you're sure it's good, do it. If you're unsure, do it. Let me say it again. If you're unsure, do it. Always gamble if you're unsure. Don't do something stupid that you know is dumb. But if you're like, I don't know, is it good or not? Yes, go do it. We're libertarians. We're always at a disadvantage. We're always losing. So gamble. What's the worst happens? You lose worse? So what? Roll the dice. Unless you know it's dumb, roll the dice. Don't worry about it. The idea that we get so upset and get our nose so out of joint because this one word came out wrong. Shut up. It's out there. So what? Get over it. You know how many times I've said bad things that I've regretted all the time? So what? So what? You know me or you don't? You're not going to vote for me? Don't. You're going to libertarian point your finger at me? Point your finger at yourself. Get out there. We have a nation to save. Let's get busy. So it's okay to get out there and do that. Train your social media manager for about a month or so, and then let him or her go. And as they make mistakes, fix it, train, adjust. Do not fire people because they made a mistake. Fire people because they won't take responsibility. There is a difference. I had 1.5 years of people on my campaign. I fired no one for incompetence or making errors. The only time that people go is when they wouldn't take responsibility. That's it. That's it. You should be the same way. But Larry, she's made 3 mistakes in a row. He made 2 mistakes in a row. Then fix him because we need him. He's learning. She's learning. They'll get better because when they're done with your campaign, there's another one that's going to happen again. There's another one that's going to happen right after that. And we need them for that. So let's keep going. Next piece. Those are people you have to have. You also want to have some form of policy person. This can be challenging. This can be your manager, right? It can be your manager. It's okay if it is your manager. In theory, it could be a communications person, maybe, but I'd rather you have a special person who's a policy person. The easiest thing to find in the Libertarian Party is policy people. Man, do we love policy. Talking about it, reading laws, blah, blah, blah. People tell me all the time, Larry, you're so good at making policy, but you're reading all the laws. I don't read laws. Why do I read laws? There are libertarians who are happy to read laws and interpret them for me all day long. Happy to do it. My policy team, when I had them, we met every Monday for hours on Monday, and we went through everything. I didn't read the laws. They were happy to read the laws and tell me the holes and what's the problem and how do we fix it and how is it corrupt. And then we formulated a policy. I'm going to move right now into the idea of policy versus rhetoric. You have to have a policy person, at least one, maybe two or three. And this doesn't matter whether you're running, local city council, water board, or I don't care, governor. Doesn't matter. Policy matters. Here's the problem that many of us suffer from when we run. We are accustomed to talking to libertarians. Excuse me. So we speak in rhetoric. We also watch Democrats, Republicans talk. That's all they do is talk rhetoric. When's the last time you saw an actual plan for local Democrat, Republican candidate? Rare. Happens. Rare. But it's okay if you're a Democrat, Republican, because all you're doing is going, the other is evil. I'm a Republican, Democrat's evil. I'm a Democrat, Republican's evil. That's all you're doing. You can just use rhetoric and you'll get the vote. When you're us, when you're third party, when you're libertarian, when you're independent, when you're not the left-right paradigm, rhetoric fails miserably every single time. No rhetoric. I don't want you saying things like, get government out of the way. That's not an answer for someone who's scared. And in today's world, a whole lot of voters are scared. And some of you guys so mad at me. Why are you worried about scaring people, Larry Sharpe? Why are you want to scare? They should be scared. Scared people make bad decisions again and again and again. Scared people is a bad idea. We don't want to scare them. Now, don't get me wrong. As an activist, you might want to scare them. To be clear, up to you and how you deal with your activism. You can scare people as an activist if you're trying to bring attention to an issue, if you're trying to show something, make a point. That's a viable tactic as an activist. That's not a viable tactic as a third-party candidate. It's a totally viable tactic as a left or right Democrat Republican candidate. And it's completely unfair and still true. Unfair and true. If you're a third-party candidate, not activist, then fear is a bad idea. A good idea is giving someone hope. Remember, people don't change and their habits and gamble on something because times are tough. People stay in bad situations all day, all night, all the time for literally years, if not decades, if not centuries. Being down and out is not why someone changes. In fact, it gets so bad, they just stay there and die. The actual concept is called learned helplessness. If you care, you can look that up on Google, learned helplessness. What happens? Someone begins to change when they see a light at the end of the tunnel. Sadly, in this world, when things are really bad, the light can be anything. In Tsarist Russian Empire, the light was communism. I know, bad. But when you spent 300 years under the yoke of the Russian king, the Russian emperor, communism sounds great. That's the light in the tunnel revolution, right? So please, I'm not saying be a communist. I'm saying provide them with an answer or an option or an idea that will make them think. I put together a commercial, and it was one of my most popular commercials. It would have been more popular, but the lesson that we learned, I was telling you about, we got scared when we first put it out because it didn't have a tag on the bottom saying, I think, paid for by something, whatever it was. So we took it down as it was just going viral. Completely screwed us over. Terrible. And this goes right back to if you're not sure, go. Roll the dice. I paid the price for this. I'll show you this one. This one didn't talk about libertarian this, libertarian that. It didn't talk about rhetoric. It talked about what I was going to do for the future. And it got, I think, about the first one, which got taken down, got, I guess, 50, 70, 80,000 views, something like that. This one also, this is the second one. This one still got something like that, 80,000, something like that views. It was shared everywhere. People really loved it. Yeah, it's my big mouth.
I want to turn this state around. I want to revamp our education system from K through 12 to K through 10 with no federal money and no new taxes. I want to repair our broken family court system so that when you lie in court, it is a crime. I want to support new industries like blockchain and open source and hemp and cannabis to support our struggling farmers. You might say these ideas are radical. No, they're bold. We need new, bold ideas to save this state. And this new message is approved by Larry Sharpe.
Now, that was a short 30-second commercial, but the point is, I didn't say liberty and freedom and liberty and freedom. None of that. I didn't even say what party I was from. Why? Nobody cares. What they care about is, are you going to give me some hope for the future? And that was a very good commercial. Obviously, as I said, we screwed up. We should have done it differently. But that's what I mean by that. So I want you to, when the time comes, it's okay to gamble. Take your time to put together policies that matter for your issue. Now, let me go one step further on this. But Larry, do you have to have a policy for everything? No, you don't. I hope you do. That's great if you do. You don't have to. You have to have a policy for the things that matter tremendously in your world. And when people get upset or throw traps at you, you can walk away from them. You don't have to. Libertarians are the worst at this. We totally eat ourselves up. To be clear, if you're going to be a candidate in the Libertarian Party, there are several things you have to understand. Number one, you are going to be fighting a battle that will be completely unfair and there will be no recourse. Period. It will be unfair. You will be treated unfairly by the press, by society, by the polls, all those things, and there's no recourse. That's how you're going to have to fight that battle. If you can't do that, don't run. Or just accept it and act accordingly. You are fighting handicapped. That's how it works, and there's no way around it. Second piece, you will be backstabbed by fellow libertarians. They are going to stab you in the back. That's going to happen. Anyone who's run has had that happen. It's what happens. Accept that it's true. Don't get angry. Pull the knife out. This is your property, and you'll be fine and move on. Because if you keep going and stay, those people tend to come back to you. We've been screwed so many times. They assume you're going to fail and backstab them, so they often backstab you first. So you will be backstabbed. It's how it works. Realizing that, don't pander to libertarians. In fact, don't pander at all. Pandering at all is a terrible idea, but particularly don't pander to libertarians. But if you're saying to yourself, well, I would do it, but it'll make libertarians angry, that's the wrong reason to not do it. Don't do it because it's not libertarian, it's not you, and doesn't work. That's the right reason to not do it. But if you think it's libertarian and you think it will work, I don't care what libertarians think. As long as you believe it, you're saying true to yourself, you think it will work, go do it. If libertarians get mad, they're always mad. It's fine. It's fine. Just keep moving. We're all part of the same family going in the same direction. Just go. So make sure that's true. When someone throws something out, like say, for example, you're running for city council. I'm making this up, right? City council. And someone starts yelling at you about, should we build the wall or not? You're running for city council. You don't have anything to do about building the wall. You don't have to go, we should never open borders. You don't have to do that. Now, of course, someone's going to go, oh, open borders are a platform. You're a terrible libertarian. They can go take a hike. You don't have to deal with that issue if you're running for city council. You're running for president. You're running for Congress. You're running for Senate. Yes, deal with that issue. Talk about the border wall. That's your issue. You're going federal. You better have a plan or a policy for that. Absolutely. But if you're actually running locally, don't fall for that. Particularly for libertarians. Who, yeah, what about open borders? What about intellectual property? They'll do crazy things like that. You're running for city council. Ignore them. If you're running federal, you better have an answer for that. So you don't have to have a view on everything. Not just that. You're running in a very rural county. What about all the rioters in Detroit? I'm running in farmland, man. Why are you bothering me? I'm running in farmland. Why are you bothering me? If you're running in a city, you better have an answer for that because that riding can come to your city. So all I'm saying is you don't have to, in any way, shape, or form, make everybody happy for everything. If you're a candidate, you have to make your people you're trying to represent happy, them satisfied. That's what matters. The rest is irrelevant. Ignore them. Literally ignore them. They don't matter. What matters is the people. As a candidate, again, I'm being clear. As a candidate, what matters is the people you're trying to represent. Those are the people you've got to try to make happy to the best of your ability. And focus on the things that you can focus on. If you're running for a water board, why do you care about the national education system? Not your issue. Walk away. Doesn't matter. Walk away. All right. The next thing. There are 4 arenas you're going to fight on. And as you're fighting in those arenas, this is how you will be able to think about your strategy. And again, guys, if you're finding value in this, then do me 2 favors. 1, like, comment, share. Keep liking, keep commenting, keep sharing. It does matter. People should see this if they're running campaigns. It's good stuff for them, obviously. If you find value in this and you want to support me getting across New York State, and I have to cross New York State again. I did, as I said, did 15 stops in the last 5 days. I've got 51 stops left that I'm doing in the next 5 weeks. This takes money. And while I'm out there, I literally leave my home in Queens and I don't come back for 5 days. I can't work while I'm doing that. So I'm not working. I'm not getting paid when I do that. I'm asking you to help me out. Donate here to larrysharpe.com/donate. Whatever you can give. This helps us with hotel rooms, gas. And this is still my political committee. So if you think I'm doing something crazy, it's right there online. You can check everything out you want, see where the money's going. That's where the money's going. It's going to things like this to move everything forward. That's where it's going. This is what we're doing. So please support to the best of your ability so I can get out there. We have to get 130,000 votes this year in New York State. I'm crossing the state to make it happen. And as you saw earlier, we are getting press. I'm going to give you one more piece of press that we got, which I think you'll enjoy. It's local press, right? And it's very local press, but it's good, right? This is from a small paper called the Orleans Hub, right? Don't be a zombie vote, right? Libertarian leaders in upcoming elections. It's me and Mark Rogowski. I was supporting several candidates that day. Mark Rogowski, Dwayne Whitmer. There's Tony DeRazio, who was our chair, right? It's me talking. This is a great piece. You might go, Larry, I've never heard this. I know. And that's okay. I'm going to cover the details of that in a second. But the most important piece, they're quoting us. They're taking us seriously, right? I'm not running for anything. I showed up because they remembered me because I've crossed the state 2 times already. This is my 3rd time crossing the state, and I'm going to every single county. They remember me for my run. And as I keep going out, they follow me. And then this candidate's there, and I support the candidates. Yes. So let me cover that piece. I'm going to go a little bit out of topic because I just brought that up. When you're a candidate, when you are running, it's going to sound crazy, but please hear me. Stop supporting other candidates so much. I'm very serious. Stop supporting other candidates so much. You're running. Support you. I bug you, Joe, about this all the time. You're spending all your money on everybody else. You're spending yourself. Why am I doing so much promoting? I'm not running. When I was running in 2018, it was about me because I was running. I was the candidate. So I spent a lot of time talking about me because I was running. Well, I wasn't running in 2016. I spent all my time talking about Gary Johnson and about Dan Reel was running. Lily Tang was running. I mean, all people. I was about everybody else but me because I wasn't running. 2017 too. 2018 was about me. I was running. So yeah, I've talked about me. I didn't talk much about the candidates at all in 2018. 2019, I wasn't running. I talked about the candidates. 2020, other candidates. You should be copying that. When you're an activist or a volunteer or a donor, please talk about all the other candidates. Please do that. When you're a candidate, it's got to be about you. It's got to be about you. That's what it has to be when you're running. Now, the issue is too many of us, if we're not running, we don't do anything. I'm trying to show you, you can be super active when you're not running. Now, a lot of good activists already know this, but the average Libertarian Party member doesn't always know this. They think it's only about when they're running. It isn't. You can be very effective even when you're not running. So when you're running, Stop supporting everybody else. Support yourself. You're running. You might say, well, Larry, that's kind of being selfish. I don't want to help. No, the reverse is true. Think about this for a second. If you're running for office, people are working for you. They're giving you their time, their money, their energy, their emotion. They're giving it to you in hopes that you will achieve something, either win or have impact or make a move or something for them. Why are they doing it? They're giving you money. And you're going to spend that time on someone else? You're cheating on them. I didn't. When I bugged you all for money, and I did, I'm doing it again, down there, LarrySharpe.com/donate. So, and Joe, you can give me money because I'm not a candidate. See, I'm kidding. Don't give me money, Joe. Give yourself money. Anyway, my point being, if I'm out there, hooping and hollering to get money from you, you expect me to give you everything I can possibly give you. That's why my goal has been, and I think most people would agree, I don't want people to feel bad that they gave me money. I want them to think, yeah, I gave Larry money, and he went out there and he busted his ass for me. Okay, worth it. I'm glad I gave him money. He busted his run for me. He was out there doing stuff. He was making impact. I'm glad I gave him money. That's what I want you to be as a candidate. I don't want you to be like, you gave me money, and I'm going to talk about somebody else. What? I wanted you to help me out. I wanted you to fix my local place. I wanted you to go do this. Why are you talking about somebody else? Why are you doing that? Talk about you. When you're a candidate, spend more time, heavy time talking about you. It doesn't mean you ignore the I'm not. It's not black and white, right? It's not black and white. You should talk about the candidates here or there, but the focus must be on you. The focus is on you when you're running. When you're not running, it's not about you, right? I'm not running. It's about other people. Every place you saw me go, I promoted the other person. I promoted the party. I promoted the local person who was running, trying to get them more and more and more. All right. Let me now shift, if I can, to the 4 arenas that you are going to have to work on. There are 4 big arenas you have to fight on. If you win 3 of those arenas, you can win the election. If you win 4, you're going to win the election for sure. If you win 1 or 2, you'll probably make some impact. If you win none, you're going to be forgotten. And that's sorry. We got to try to win at least one of them if we can. Arena number 1, social media. Social media. While people say social media isn't enough, you can't win on social media, they're right. You can't win on social media. However, that's 1 of 4. It is critical, but not the be-all, end-all. How do you win on social media? Well, several things. Number 1, lots and lots of content. To the best of your ability, live content, but it doesn't have to be live content. To the best of your ability, video content, but it doesn't have to be video content. So the best of your ability, live video content. That's the best. That's the holy grail of content. Try to create that every single day. Some of you say, but Larry, I can't, I work or whatever. I got it. Not required. I'm saying that's the holy grail. As much live video content as you can create. If you can't do that, great. Do recorded stuff, do non-live, do written articles, all good. Memes. The meme wars are real. All those matter. All I'm saying is try to the best of your ability to create live video content as best you can. I clearly am a madman. I was doing at least 10 a week. It was insane. I was producing so much content. It was crazy. I still do it. I'm not even running, and I produce at least 6 hours of live video content every week, minimum, usually 10 or so of live video content every week. You produce content, people will pay attention. People will eventually get it. Something will go viral, and that's the goal. The goal of social media is to go viral. If you do that, you're going to rock and roll. How do you do that? By not being boring. By not being boring. If every time you're just talking about rhetoric, you're going to lose people. You're preaching to the choir, and you're going to lose them. You have to be able to have some cool policies, talk about them, and make up dumb acronyms. I make up dumb acronyms and sayings all the time. I try to. Doesn't always work, but sometimes it does, right? My best one from the campaign was regulate like onions. That worked. People like it. They talk about it. I'll be on the street. Kids will drive by. Kids. Young males, usually almost always males. Young males drive by. I'm an old man, so I call them kids. I shouldn't. It's wrong. They're not kids. They're just young males. The young males will drive by and scream out the window, regulate like onions. Literally, I'll get someone will yell that at me while I'm someplace. So that does happen. If you people talk about my FAQs plan, FAQS plan for fixing the police. And Joe, thank you. Quick, actually, it's QICC. I know it's a bad acronym, but I throw these together in an attempt to make something stick. If you think that way, if you think about that and you try to do that, hopefully one will hit. Most probably won't, right? Most things don't go viral. Remember the goal of any policy, the goal of any idea is to be radical enough to be, noticed, but familiar enough to be accepted, right? And the example I'll give you is, Keith brings up A New New York. Thank you, Keith. Yes, some people brought that up, A New New York. Yes, I had tons of them. Some of them worked, some didn't, but I kept trying to do it to the best of my ability, right? I'm still trying to make it happen. But if you remember the idea of defund the police, sounds great. Too radical. It's not familiar enough, right? It's too radical. It's not familiar enough. You come up with a plan to fix the police or reset the police. Okay. Then that becomes okay. I can kind of get that. I'm prepared to have a conversation on that one. Defund the police, you immediately get left to right. Immediate, boom, left, right. It doesn't matter what your plan is. If you remember, many people who were for defund the police said, well, let me now explain what I mean by that. No one heard them. If it was something like, and I'm making this up, it's like a reset the police or reboot or something like that, to where they can go, okay, now tell me what that means. Now I know what I will often hear is, that's terrible. That's not what libertarianism is about. Then be an activist, and you can say that all day long. Please be an activist and say that all day long. If candidates say that, they're going to go nowhere. It's just how it works. They're going to go nowhere. I know there are people who yell and scream all the time. Our principles are our best weapons. We got to be totally hardcore principle, hardcore, get rid of it all, abolish it all. As an activist, that's wonderful. I would ask you, as a candidate, when has it ever worked without violence? It doesn't. This is a story we've been telling ourselves for decades, and it's never been true. And we've just said it so much that we now believe it. Well, I don't, but lots of people still believe it. It's not the answer. The answer is getting people to come to our way. I don't want to fight the left. I don't want to fight the right. I want to convert them all. Yes, I'm greedy. I want to convert all of them. And the only way I do it is by connecting. Connect first. All right. So consider that when you're creating any of your social media memes or stories or hashtags or whatever, radical enough, familiar enough, and try to make that match. You'll be off sometimes. You'll make mistakes. It'll be dull or boring or won't land. Fine. Next. I threw out tons of them. Hold on, I got to pop this up real fast. Joe, I love this one. THC, taxes, healthcare, cannabis. Come on, Joe. Well done, brother. Well done. That's what I'm talking about. Exactly right. That's what I want about, right? So we want to try to make things that are, hold on, one more. Regulate sex workers like tarot card readers. I love that, Keith. That's what we should be doing. That's the style. The most important piece, though, is I want you to make sure that it's you, right? Please steal all my stuff if you want. Take it. Don't even give me credit. Just the fact I was actually at an event when one of the candidates was literally saying my plan. And I just sit there and went, yep. Didn't say a word. Good. If my plan fits you, take it. If my plan's decent, but you got to tweak it for your world, take it, tweak it, name it yourself, steal my name. I don't care. Whatever you want. Don't even give me credit. I'm not running. You're running. It's your plan now. Just take it. Just steal it. LarrySharpe.com. Look at the policies. Anything works. Steal it. Call it your own. All good. I'm not running. You are. Take it. It's now yours. Anyway, the point I want to bring up here is I want to bring up the principle piece. I'm not saying principles don't matter. Of course they do. Of course they do. Absolutely. But they're your principles. And as long as your policies follow your principles, we're good. That's it. They'll vote for you or they won't. They'll vote for you or they won't. As a candidate. And that's I keep saying that. People say, well, now we can't say this. You can say whatever you like, please. I'm telling you what's going to work best when you're in the candidate space, not the volunteer space, not the donor space, not the activist space. When you are in the candidate space. That's social media. Now, traditional media, TV, radio, newspaper. The funny part about it is, even though that these things are actually physically less valuable in our society, less people are watching, less people are paying attention, they still in our society show if you are a real person or not. If you are a viable candidate, you've got to be in some form of traditional media. You have to. How do we get that as libertarians? As a general rule, they ignore us. That's what happens. There are two ways you can do it. Way number one, raise a lot of money and buy ads. If you buy ads in the media, they tend to follow you. When I was running, I was asking, why aren't you guys following me? Again, lessons that I learned during my campaign. Why aren't you guys following me? A couple guys literally said, you aren't buying ads. I was, as I said, crossing the state, and someone was buying ads. And the second they were buying ads, the sales rep literally said, thank you for the purchase, whatever. I'm now going to refer you to our political reporter. It's pay to play. That's option one. Option one's pay to play. Buy ads. If you're raising the money, good for you. Buy ads. They'll cover you. Larry, that's unethical. That's wrong. That's what world we live in, and it's not changing in the next 4 years. So accept that as true or don't run. That's how it works. So you can either do that, or there's another option too. And the other option is go where no one else is going. I also learned that lesson. Go to a place where no one else goes. There was a place in New York State, a district, not a county, but a district within New York State, upstate in the North Country, where I got about 26% of the vote. It's insane. It's insane. A third-party candidate, Libertarian in New York State, 26% of the vote. One district of a county, right? That district. Why? I was the only one who showed up. That's the reason. I showed up. And when I showed up in this small county, in a small district, the newspaper showed up. The mayor showed up. The sheriff showed up. Because nobody shows up. So I went there. And there are some small areas in your town or city or wherever that is, in mine for sure, where they have two choices. This week, what do we cover? The cow escaped or Larry Sharpe shows up. Well, the cow's going to escape next week too. So let's cover Larry Sharpe. So that's where you want to go. But why? There is logic to this. What you got to understand here in today's world, local media has been destroyed by big business. Devastated. Most of the writers who write for one local paper write for 6 or 7 of them. Sometimes same pen name, sometimes different pen names. If you get that reporter to show up at your event, give them good sound bites, like you heard me, like the zombie vote. Give them good sound bites. If you give them good sound bites, they'll write it up or take the picture, whatever, and they'll post it. And they'll often post it in 3 or 4 or 5 local papers. If you're running a large area, large district, or a large county, they'll write it in several papers. You might say, but Larry, hold on. These small papers, they get what, 300 people who watch them or whatever, or view it or read them? Yes. But if you read your local paper, you vote. So while it's a small audience, it's the right audience. Anyone who sits down on a Sunday morning or Saturday afternoon, whatever, and reads the local newspaper, that person votes. If they actually read your article, you may have moved them. They at least know who you are, and they'll tell their friends. So that is the right audience to get, even though, yes, it's small. But something else. I just showed you, press. 3 different pieces I showed you. You don't know how big or how small those towns are unless you live in New York State. And even if you live in New York State, you probably don't know them. But if you live in those areas, you know how big or how small they are. If you don't know how big or how small those are. So when you then post those onto social media, which is how social media and traditional media overlap, people see you getting picked up. Now all of a sudden, you are more valid. You are more real. You have more oomph because the papers are picking you up. And if you're in 3 or 4 papers by the same writer, put them all out. Also, one of them might go viral. And what winds up happening eventually is if enough local papers pick you up, then bigger stations will pick you up because those people pick up whatever's happening locally. So you get picked up. That's how you make that happen. That's how you mix traditional and social media. Because as a general rule, all those physical papers have a social media component, which no one checks. It doesn't matter. No one has to know that. Copy and paste it, share it everywhere. Look, I'm getting covered. Look, I'm a player. Look, I'm real. People start paying attention. Also, at this point, ask for money. Ask for money. Why? Because when you ask for money, people think you're going to make impact. They're prepared to give you a couple bucks. You're doing something, right? People want something for their money. If you're getting press, they'll give you money. It's just human nature. They'll do it. So that's when you do that, and it keeps moving. This moves directly for me into debates/poll, which is number 3. I mix them together. Let me cover polls first. The reason why I say polls and debates is if you're high in the polls, you often get in debates. That's why I mix them together. Polls. You have to buy polls if you have money. If you don't have money, you're not going to be in the polls. Accept that as true. But it's not fair, Larry. Yes, it's not fair and true. I literally asked the big companies. I called them up. Well, I didn't, but the team did. How come you aren't covering Larry Sharpe? What did they say? You're not buying the polls. Buy the poll and put you in. Pay to play. I wish it wasn't true. It's true, and it's not going to change anytime soon. Buy the poll, you're in the poll. If you don't buy the poll, you might be in the poll, you might not be in the poll. Depends how they feel. Maybe, probably not, unless you're popular. What is good is polls make you popular if you're popular being a poll. Chicken and egg. So your goal is be popular. Then you'll be in the poll because you're popular. I know that makes no sense, but that's how it works. So if you got the money, write a check, buy a poll. Polls in major companies like Gallup and those cost between 40 and 60 grand. If you can't raise that kind of money, you're not getting one of those polls. But if you can get that kind of money, great, buy the poll if you can do it. I couldn't with good conscience drop $40,000 of donor money to do that. I just couldn't do it. I couldn't, because then what if I had a horrible poll? I threw 40 grand in the garbage. Couldn't do it. If I would have raised 3-4 million, I absolutely would have bought a poll, maybe 2. So if you can raise that kind of cash, buy a poll. If you can't, you have to make your own. Make your own polls and publish them. Right? You can buy polls from small marketing companies. I did. I used Gravis Marketing to do our polls. They were much less expensive. They weren't $40,000. They weren't cheap, but they weren't $4 grand. They were cheaper. So that was one thing to do. Or do the online poll thing and pass it around. Try all those things. People like polls. Try doing it, but that's the reality. Don't beg to get in the polls. Never beg to get in the polls. It doesn't look good. It's a bad idea. I'm against it. I know libertarians always do it every time. Let her speak is this time. Let Gary speak before. It's always that. Not fair. Unfair debates. Lawsuits. All those things. Doesn't work. I got in debates. Some of you remember that if you were in New York State. I got into debates. The League of Women Voters held debates. Now, did I ask to be in debates? No. They were talking all kind of trash about me. And my response is, you don't want me in my debate, go take a leap. I don't need you. You suck. I'm better than you. That was my way of talking to them. What did I do? I stopped trying to get in debates, and I went out and campaigned and became more popular. And I got tons and tons of local press like that. I got lots of, the so-and-so journal that foreign people read. But I got so much local press that I started to get bigger press. Some of you saw I was on TV. I did a bunch of shows. All that came from starting in small areas, local press, and grew to bigger press. That's the way to win this damn thing. Start in areas where there's nobody, and they'll show up, and that will grow. That's how I did it. And because I was popular enough, I got into debates. And what happened? My governor didn't show up. And when he doesn't show up, what happens? It's not televised. So I got in the debate. I won the debate. And no one saw it except people who were in the debate and who watched my stuff because I put it on my YouTube channel. So people watched my stuff, saw it, but no one else did. That's how that works. Debates are important. Absolutely. If you can get one, get in one. If you can get in debates, please get in debates. But you get in debates by being popular, by having people know you, by having people ask them the question, why isn't this guy in? Why isn't he in? Because they know you and they're popular. But you don't want to do it by begging. Generally speaking, talk about what you want to achieve. People still, thanks to Keith bringing it up, people still talk about a new New York. That was my thing, a new New York. People thought about it, wanted it. That's how I got into debates. That's how you get into debates. The last piece is events. Events are also critical. Why? Bernie and Trump both taught us this in 2016. Trump is teaching us again in 2020. If you can get people to your debates, you can get them to the polls. That's how it works. That is how it works. If you can get the people to show up at an event, you can get them to the polls. I know COVID makes it harder. I know it. It's more difficult. If you can do debates, do them. I'm doing them. I did 15 events. I had everywhere from 2 to over 25 people show and everything in between. Whatever it is, I went, we do it. All good. Whenever I can do, I produce live content. Make events, do events to the best of your ability. Larry, I'm working. Larry, I don't have time. Then why are you running? Why are you running then? I'll go back to that. If you're going to run for office, you have to have a lifestyle or an environment to where you can give at least the equivalent of 3 days per week. The equivalent, that's 8-hour days, so 24 hours a week, whether that's on weekends, at nights, or whenever. If you can't give at least 24 hours out of every week to run for office, please don't run for office. You're not ready. You don't have a lifestyle that can support that. You need to be able to give at least 24 hours a week to a campaign, or don't run. That means the equivalent of 3 work days over however, again, it could be a couple hours every day or weekends. That's different. Depends on how your work schedule is. But Larry, I got a family and friends. Then don't run. You're not doing me a favor. You're not. You're hurting. You're doing more harm than good. If you can do 24 hours in a week, awesome, please run. If you can't, help somebody else as a volunteer or an activist or something like that. Help somebody else. That's what we're talking about. All right. If we get events going, it works. Events often happen because they help out through social media, help out through traditional media. This is a combination piece of all of it. I talked about a comms person. The comms person you want has to be able to send out press releases. We found this out the hard way too. Here is how you send a press release out. You write the actual story. I'm not joking. You write the actual story. Joe Hanush is coming to this place. He's talking about this. He did this. He does that. You write the whole story of what's happening or happened last week. You write it as if you're a reporter, which is what the candidate should be doing it. Have someone as a comms person who knows how to do this to do it. Journalism student can do it. They can do it. Write a story. Provide a picture. Provide a byline. Write the story. You'd be amazed how often they'll take this and just go, you know what? Scratch off that guy's name, put my name in, and present the story. That actually happens. Do their job for them. You want to get your story in the paper? Do their job for them. But Larry, that's not fair. I know. This whole thing isn't fair. Let's stop complaining about it. And let's get around it. And let's change it. You're right. It's not fair. And it's not going to change if we don't change it. They don't want to change it. Why should they? So it's not fair. And let's get around it. That's how you write good press releases. The last piece I want to bring up here is I want to bring up fundraising. I'm talking about it now, right? If what I'm doing is giving you value, if you're seeing value in this and you care about this and you do more of it, then I'm asking you right now, head over to LarrySharpe.com/donate. Give what you can so I can push through New York and keep ballot access for my state. For those of you who don't know, literally New York State changed the rules after I got ballot access. Oh, Larry Sharpe won that? Oh, can't have that. And they changed the rules from 50,000 votes to 130,000 votes or 2%, whichever is higher. Up to 8 million New Yorkers sometimes vote, which would mean 160,000 votes. If it's 2%, will be higher than 130. So it's at least 130, maybe 160. That's a lot of votes. I'm out there shaking the trees, as I've already shown you more than once. I'm out there trying to get stuff done so that we can get those numbers. You want to help me out? Make sure New York keeps ballot access. We are the battleground state. LarrySharpe.com/donate. Now I'm going to talk about actual donors. When it comes to actually getting donors, you should break your donors up, your donors up into 4 different types. Broken up into 2 groups and then 2 more groups. 1, libertarians. 2, non-libertarians. Now, within each of those, what in your world is a small donor versus what is in your world a big donor. And that will change depending upon what your maximum donation is, all those things, right? So here's an example. Libertarian donors. Small libertarian donors. In my world running for governor, I can take up to $44,000 from one person. Federal, it's $2,800. Locally, there are different rules. So you have to decide what's big. When my biggest number is 44,000, I had a couple people who gave me over 20,000. So my big donor was about $1,000 or more, was in my world a big donor. Everyone else was kind of a smaller donor or a medium-sized donor in my world. If you're federal, 2,800, pretty much anyone, over 250 is a big donor for you, right? Anyone under is probably a smaller donor, depending on how you look at that. As a general rule, when it comes to donors, if they're libertarian donors, what they really want as a small donor is to be part of something that's going to be big or great. That's what they want. Give it to them. Tell them why it's going to be big. Tell them why it's going to work. Tell them what they're going to get. Give them hope if you got hope. I hope you do. If you got policies, you do. I always have hope, so I sell hope all the time. Remember, we're not selling libertarianism. That's the wrong item. We're not doing that, right? We're selling hope. We're selling change. We're selling something. We're selling the results. That's what we're selling. But Larry, it's about liberty and freedom. Not everybody wants to be free. Not everybody wants liberty. Not everybody does. It's a lie we've been telling ourselves for 40 years, and we believe it. It's not true. People want happiness. Some of them want liberty too, but they all want happiness. And for some of them, that's a whole lot of liberty. For some of them, that's not much liberty at all. It's fine. They want happiness. Let's get them as happy as we can make them. That's what we want. That's what people want, happiness. But Larry, we got to give them choice. People want choice. No, they don't. So this lie we've been telling each other for 40 years, and it's not true. I never believed it. Many people still believe it. If people want a choice, we wouldn't have two choices. We'd have lots of choices. They don't want choice. They want solutions. They want happiness. If that means multiple choices, great. But will that get me solutions? Will that make me happy? Right? Freedom and liberty is awesome, but will it make me happy? Will it get me solutions? These are means to an end. We have to focus on the end, which is happiness or solutions. If we focus on that, now we'll make that happen. That's what I want you to think about. So focusing on that when you're talking about donors. So to the libertarian donor, let them know this great thing's going to happen. I need your help to make it happen. Express it to them. People will often give. For the bigger libertarian donor, for the guy who's going to give you, a gal who's going to give you $1,000 or $5,000 or whatever is your maximum donation, that donor doesn't see this as being part of something bigger. That's not how they look at this. They look at it differently. And you have to talk to them differently. They look at this as an investment. If I'm going to write that check for $2,800 or $2,000 to you, I don't want to be part of something big. I want you to do something. Now, we always say, but Larry, I can't always win. It doesn't have to be win. It doesn't. It can be, I'm going to build a policy library. I'm going to build a team out. I'm going to get X percentage so I can keep ballot access. I'm going to make sure this law gets repealed. I'm going to make sure this bill gets stopped. Any type of thing that matters, but it can be some type of impact. I'm going to be able to get into a TV show or a radio show, get more press or get more media, build a media team, any of those things. That's what a big libertarian donor wants to hear. It's an investment. If you go, I need your help, they walk away. It's got to be, here's what I can do. And what I want you to not do is don't tell big L, big donors, that you're going to win. They don't believe you. It doesn't matter if you are going to win or not. They don't believe you. They've been burned so much by so many candidates who are full of crap. They don't believe you anymore. So don't bother trying. Tell them what you're going to achieve. And if you win, they'll be ecstatic and they'll support you in office. Don't worry about that. My point is, tell them what you can achieve if they're a big donor, even if you can win. Don't try to convince them. Don't bother. Also, don't try to convince big donors how pure you are. They don't care. How principled you are. They don't care. It's an investment. Will you do something? Will they get something from it? Don't go to a heavy donor and go, I'm the most principled guy ever. They've heard that 40,000 times and got burned. They're not going to hear you. Tell them what you can achieve. That's not true for the small libertarian donors. Small libertarian donors enjoy rhetoric. It's what keeps us together. I actually like libertarian rhetoric. I do. I use it when I'm talking to other libertarians. We enjoy that. That's our language. That keeps us together. That's awesome. So when it comes to small donor libertarians, rhetoric all the time and the Fed, statist, that stuff's awesome. It works. I love it. We all love it as libertarians. Talk that trash all day. Good for the smaller donor libertarian. The bigger donor doesn't want to hear that. The bigger donor is an investment. So speak differently to that donor and focus on the benefit you're going to bring. Move to the next side, the non-libertarian. The non-libertarian donor, small donor, is almost always a single issue voter. In my state, cannabis, 2A, vaping, something like that. For entrepreneurship, something like that. Focuses on one issue. The most important thing is when you talk to them, focus on that issue. Don't go off to other stuff. And when you have activists with you, activists sometimes get angry when you touch this because activists clearly are true believers. Otherwise, they wouldn't be activists. So when they hear someone say, yeah, I'm for the Second Amendment or whatever, but bombing people, all good, bomb away. War and drugs, greatest thing that ever happened in the world. Don't let your activists yell at them. That's all I'm saying. Keep your mouth shut. Focus on the issue at hand. Talk about what they want to talk about, Second Amendment or whatever that thing is. Don't talk about a drug war. They don't care about that. They care about Second Amendment. Talk about the Second Amendment. Get the small donations. Move on and push the issue. This is where your principles are really going to be called into question. And Keith brought up principle. And here's when this matters. Because sometimes you will find yourself as a candidate looking at a position that can get you money but will break your principles. This is where you can't do it. And this is what's going to tell what kind of candidate you are. Second Amendment, yeah, awesome, easy for us. What when it's not that? What about when it's intellectual property? And there's guys who are ready to give you tons of money for that, but you don't believe the same way they believe. That's when you've got to say no. And that will be hard for those of you. And why do I say that? There are single issue voters who don't have a home and they have money and they'll come to an up and coming candidate and say, hey, we've got money, support our cause. And that cause may not be libertarian. And that will be challenging for you. But as long as your cause is libertarian, jump on board, right? They want to talk about, they want to talk about family law. That's your cause. You're on board libertarian. On board. Talk about it. You want to talk about vaping? Talk about it. It's libertarian. Go ahead. You don't have to be doing it. I don't own a firearm. I didn't go to the divorce court. I've been married 20 years, right? I don't vape. I don't even smoke. But I support all of those issues because everybody's rights matter. It's libertarian. It makes sense. I'm on. I'm in. Let's do this. Absolutely. All right. Now, big donor. Big donor, non-libertarian. They almost always have some form of vendetta. I'm very serious. They're like, I don't like this guy. I don't like this thing. I want this thing to go away. This becomes the hardest of all for you to keep your principles because someone will say, I don't like this law that, changes rents because I'm a landlord and I want money. They don't care about libertarianism. They care about the law that changes rents. They just want to make money. And they got tons of money to do it because they're a landlord. They make tons of money. And they can write you a check for the maximum amount right now if you support this issue. You've got to ask yourself, is it libertarian? And if it is libertarian, if they happen to be on the right side of libertarianism on this side, support it. I don't care if they're not. If this guy is or gal only cares about themselves and just would make money, but this issue happens to be libertarian, take the money and jump on it. It's libertarian. Don't let the activists in your party go, but that guy's not libertarian. He's a Democrat or he's a Republican. So what? If the issue is a libertarian issue and it's your principles and you can accept it, jump on board. Take the money if it's principled and you can talk about it and jump on board. Go do it. Absolutely. It is the answer. Many times you've seen me, people get mad at me. Larry, why do you support people, who are this or who are that? They're not really libertarians because the issue that they're behind is the one I can get behind. It is our issue. And they'll vote for me this time. So it's fine. I'll take it. That's how you're able to raise money. In each case, when raising money, always focus on the benefit you bring and then ask for the money. Never focus on, please give me money, I need you. It's true, but don't focus on that. Focus on, here's what I'm going to do for you. Here's what I'm going to do. Think of it like the market. We're libertarians, right? Value for value trade. Give me money and I'll go do something for you. I hope this was valuable for all of you. I hope you got a lot from this and got to think a lot about this and will help build your teams and help others. That's what I wanted to do with this. I hope you understand that right now I'm out there trying to get ballot access for my state, New York. It's working. We're getting press. I just showed you 3 things we got already. It's working, and it's 1 trip. I got 4 more trips that we're doing. So we can get more press. We can make this happen in New York State. Keep ballot access. For those of you not in New York, remember, we are the battleground state. What happens here? It's coming to you. Absolutely is. It's coming to you. Let's stop being in the front line. Some of us are in the front line. I'm in the front line, right? So, and many people here in New York, we're in the front line. So head on over, LarrySharpe.com/donate. Give what you can give. You're supporting me literally crossing this state. And this stuff is all open. It's online. It's the political committee that I had when I ran for governor. Same political committee. Still doing it. Come on out, guys. Help us out. Give me some cash so I can get out there and make New York keep ballot access so that we can win on the front line. All right, guys. Thank you so much. Make sure you like, comment, and share it. And I'll be seeing you all very soon.